right, we're back. It's Tuesday evening, and this is Weather for Weather Geeks. I had a 3-day weekend. Hope you had a good weekend. The weather panned out, unfortunately, kind of as expected on Saturday, with a pretty icy scenario unfolding across the valley. So our active February pattern continues, and will continue for some time. But that being said, now we're 11 days into the month of February, and even though it's been a fairly cold winter so far, it has not been a particularly snowy winter. At the Youngstown Warren Airport for the season, almost 13 inches behind average. So we're starting to rack up some pretty decent deficits across the area. In fact, when you look at our television viewing area, really it's only the far northern areas of Trumbull and Mercer and a couple of splotches around Columbiana that are pretty close to average for snowfall this season. Everywhere where you see yellows and oranges and browns, those are the below average snow numbers thus far this season. Now, we're probably going to make up some ground here as we go into the upcoming weekend. Probably not going to get back to average, but we'll probably cut into that deficit during the upcoming weekend, and of course we'll talk about that in this video and all week long on Weather for Weather Geeks. In the meantime, our radar is pretty quiet this evening. We told you, don't be surprised to see a few snowflakes today, especially in our southern areas south of Route 224. We missed out on a storm that, if the storm track was a little bit different, it'd be, a much different day today and a different night tonight. But, we're just missing out on this system that's bringing plentiful snow to southern Ohio, parts of West Virginia, and especially over towards the D.C. area. Really sloppy rush hour along I-95 from Philadelphia to Baltimore to Washington, D.C. as well. Back here at home, winter weather advisories are out in Mercer County and Crawford County up into Erie County, PA. Not because of tonight's weather, but this is going into effect tomorrow and into tomorrow evening as a result of some precipitation pushing in and the best chance for maybe some rain with temperatures right around freezing would be over into the I-79 corridor. But this is not going to be any sort of rerun of what we just had on Saturday. The ice accretion probabilities for 1/10 of an inch of ice, even in the areas that are under winter weather advisories, these numbers are not through the roof. I'm expecting mostly just a cold, damp afternoon on Wednesday with a few rain showers around, a couple of snowflakes here and there, a couple of sleet pellets, and yes, probably there will be technically some rain falling into air that's right around 32. But during the day especially, that's a lot different than rain at 29 or 30 degrees, which has a much easier time, of course, sticking to things and causing some problems. So I'm expecting fairly minimal impacts on our roads on Wednesday, but nonetheless, be on the lookout for maybe an isolated slick spot or two. This precipitation is going to try to push in as we go into mid-afternoon, and you'll notice our model here tries to spit out some freezing rain, but again, it's going to be right around 32. So technically freezing rain a possibility, even though I think the impacts overall would be pretty low. And actually, temperatures will keep on rising for a time tomorrow night. We'll spend most of tomorrow kind of between 32 and 34 in the afternoon and early evening, that is. But by tomorrow night, closer to midnight, we may be closer to 40. It may bob up into the 40s for a couple of hours in the wake of this warm frontal passage tomorrow night. So the warmest part of tomorrow night may be around 1, 2 a.m. And then temperatures will start tailing back again as we head towards Thursday morning. In fact, cold enough that there could be a couple of snowflakes in the air Thursday and into Thursday night as well. I don't think it's going to add up to much, but some flurries around. And then we're kind of in between systems on our Friday. All right, let's talk about the weekend. This is going to be a bigger, beefier system, that is for sure, but the details are everything here, and because of some uncertainty, no surprise, it's only Tuesday, some uncertainty as to the exact storm track, there's still some uncertainty as to the impacts. Now, if things go as the model consensus would have you believe right now, the average of all the weather modeling, we might have accumulating snow in kind of two rounds. One morning and midday on Saturday, another morning and midday-ish on Sunday, and in between it may warm up and rain for a time Saturday afternoon and especially into Saturday evening into parts of the overnight as well. That's the most likely scenario, I would say, at this point, but overall our confidence on a lot of these factors is towards the lower end. Now the timing, our confidence is pretty high that this is going to be, a Saturday into parts of Sunday kind of a thing, but the storm track, while our confidence is medium, until it's high, we're going to have a hard time pinning down exactly, of course, how much snow and other, details like that. As far as precipitation type, this is also in the low to medium category as far as confidence goes because of the uncertainty as to the exact track of the storm. Are we going to see a changeover to rain sooner or later than maybe some of the model consensus would have you believe right now? So in other words, there's a lot to work out here between now and the weekend, and we'll be talking more and more about this on weather for Weather Geeks this week on my social media outlets and, of course, our newscasts as well. Here's this afternoon's run of the European model. We're just going to show you one model here because if I showed you all the models we look at, we'd be here all night. But here's the European, and it kind of goes along with this idea that there may be a thump of snow on the front end. In other words, what we call warm advection. There's a warm front lifting off to the north, and the air aloft will start warming up pretty quickly, but maybe not quickly enough to prevent snow from falling for a time Saturday morning and midday. If this works out, there could be a pretty good thump. It may really come down hard for a few hours and cause some travel headaches Saturday morning and midday. But the warm advection looks strong enough that, not going to be surprised if we see a changeover to rain for a time. And this most likely occurs towards late afternoon into the evening on Saturday. And then, as the colder air wraps in after the low passes by, we may see a changeover to snowflakes. Now, the exact track of this low is going to be very, very important. The European model tracks it more up the I-79 corridor, meaning we stay rain a little longer, the backlash snows are not as impressive. If the center of the low is more like down here towards Elkins or Morgantown or Charleston or some places like that, that would keep us in the rain for a shorter period of time. It may also mean deeper moisture is present when the colder air wraps in later Saturday night into Sunday, and that would mean more snow. And there's some model depictions that do look like that. So it's on the table. We're going to get a pretty good hit of snow this weekend, but it's certainly no, cinch at this point. There's a lot to sort out between now and then. But it's going to get cold next week, that is for sure. This is today's 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Pretty good odds of a below average period. In fact, we in our forecast for President's Day, which is next Monday, and next Tuesday, we have highs in the teens in our forecast and overnight lows down into the single digits. So this upcoming stretch, I think, will not be as cold in magnitude as that stretch we had in mid-January. But still, it looks pretty impressively cold for a little while as we go past the weekend and into at least the first part of next week. That'll do it for me on this Tuesday evening edition of the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. You know where to find me on social media, and we'll be talking about that weekend storm and rumors of storms in that cold air next week as well, coming up later this week on this very same video. I'll see you back here on Wednesday.